What's going on, everyone? What's going on? What's going on? JD and PW, Derek, Sids, D4, what's going on? BGFV. I know Tom's gonna be on in a while. I'm really interested to see literally what his target's gonna be, and I'll just show you guys. I mean, I literally drew two lines on BGFV. I'm literally just gonna show you the two lines that I drew. No, actually, I take that back. I do have fibs on there also. But if I zoom it out, let's see what I actually had. I pretty much just have like an expanding wedge. That's basically what I have. And so getting the target, and I think that aligns a little bit with what Avery said. It was like he had a $41 target more or less. I have 40. The fib's going up to 40.13 if we end up hitting that tomorrow. And then we potentially hit that long-term resistance level right there, that 40 mark. And from there, I think Tom's going to take it in his hands and do some kind of magician work in which I wouldn't even be surprised if he says it's going to 1,000. All right. But 40 it's going to, oh my God. All right, so that's why I'm gonna say 40, and I'm gonna let Tom decide if it goes to 100, if it goes to 1,000. But he'll be on shortly to really break that down and see exactly where he's gonna get in. He's probably gonna go blackjack style and just double down by open, but we'll see what he does. He'll be on shortly. But I'll just get down to a few things here so we cover what we need to cover, and then you can get a break before you go join Tom to find the next 1,000% gainer. I am actually interested to see that. I want to see exactly what's the next one. But just in case he doesn't mention it, guys, again, don't try to go all in, especially on the next play that he's going to come up with. Try to allocate a small portion of your funds, whether it be up to 5% of your portfolio. If it's some profit that you came out with, maybe you got Tesla profits, you got some kind of SPY profits that you took from SPY calls today. Don't try to dump money in there, especially what you're not willing to lose. And I'm sure that Tom's probably going to emphasize that disclaimer more or less because although it's very fun, especially when you find a 1,000% gainer like BGFE, you definitely don't want to be on the other side, and that is the risk with potential squeezes. So I just wanted to throw that out there just in case he gets a little caught up looking at the chart right away. But getting into futures here, my ascending broadening wedge on futures here that definitely made the directional move today that I was looking for. As I mentioned, I think like the past two nights we were pretty much just in the middle of the wedge. We definitely got that breakthrough. I wanted to see us get over 46.28 on S&P futures. We broke right through that, literally just mooned right on Jay Powell, and that was just great to see. So now I want to see us get up to the next fib here. I have a 46.69, and then we'll likely wick right into the resistance of the wedge, in which that may potentially be the end of this bull run here until we get some kind of sideways corrective move, or we end up getting a pullback. So I mean, at some point we have to digest this move that we've made from going back all the way down to 43.28. It literally feels like we've just been non-stop moving to the upside. So we're gonna have to digest this. Maybe some sideways action. I think maybe that would be the best case scenario once we hit this resistance, or we do end up getting a retrace. So that's just something to keep in mind. 46.69 is really the level I'm watching on the fib, and we can get a little bit of a wick right up to that resistance. And at that point, I'll decide whether I wanted to get into puts. Depends on the scenarios. I did see some golden puts that came in, 442 puts on SPY. That was for December 17th, if I'm not mistaken, around that time. And so that was a little bit interesting. I can definitely see that pullback at some point between now and December. I hope it wouldn't ruin the Christmas rally that we're going to end up potentially having at the end of the year, like we always do. But we are due for a corrective move after we get what I would consider today going into the rest of the week, if be the case, our our final push, our final rally, and this final squeeze, if you want to say that for a better term, to finish out this bull run that we're on. All right, switching over to Nasdaq, a little bit of a same scenario. I did mention yesterday we had the ascending channel. We got a beautiful push right out of that channel. Same time on Powell, we got right over my fib of 16,073 on Nasdaq futures. And so now I'll be looking for my next fib of 16,264, and which that'll likely coincide with S&P futures also pushing right up to that last level that I'm looking at on my fib also. So we're on our last leg, pretty much getting to that upside. And then that pretty much brings us right into a name of which everyone probably had eyes on. I literally looked at Tesla for most of the day. And the one time that I actually took my eyes off of Tesla, I literally saw it go up. It was up $5, and the next thing I knew, I probably like blinked. I looked sideways or something. Maybe BGFV had my attention. I looked back and it was up $20 on Tesla. And then I literally heard, I think Avery, when I mentioned it on live, Avery literally just looked at the chart. I think he just entered right away because it was just approaching the $1,200 mark, and he got a beautiful push out of that. We ended up at a high of a day of 1215.39, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's also swinging calls on that one. And I'm sure there's quite a few people that are swinging calls because that 1200 level was definitely a psychological level. They wanted to see us get over that 1200. So now, what's the next mental target? We're looking at 1250, over 1250, then 1300. So that's how you're kind of training your mind to think about Tesla right now. So my next fib I have is 1226. I can definitely see us gapping up to that. I know that Avery's also looking for a gap up over 1220, so that kind of coincides to what his estimates were. So 1226 will be an easy gap up. If we end up getting a bigger gap up than that, then I can potentially see us opening up around 1235. And in which case, once we get market open, I can see us retesting that last fib lower, which is the 1226. And then we can see where Tesla's going to go at that point. If we get a nice rally, push right into 1248 in my fib, which gives you that round mental target of 1250. All right. So that's definitely going to be something I'm watching going into tomorrow. I would hope that we hover around 1226 into open tomorrow because I would actually like to get in tomorrow because I did not swing calls on Tesla. So if we can hover that 1226, I will definitely take it. But if we get that gap up to that 1235, I'll look for the pullback, which if we get back to 1226 and open on that pullback, that'll be about a $9 dip. I'll definitely take that if be the case. So I'll watch this one. I'll keep an eye on it. But again, mental target is 1250. My fib's at 1248. So let's see where she goes tomorrow. One that is a little bit more of a low key play that I'm watching is Facebook. I know that Facebook's been a little bit of a heat the past few days, past few weeks for that matter. After the name change, and it seems like all the news is recently it's basically behind the company now at this point, it seems like. But I'm looking at the breakout of the falling wedge type action that's going on here. And that's what I want to see continuation of going into tomorrow. So you see you got that nice little breakout on the 4 hour here, that candle sticking right out. And this is what you want to see, that continuation over this prior wick over 334.79, and that'll give you a nice smooth sailing up to about to cover this entire gap, in which you're going to complete that gap at 340. 340.20 will complete that gap that you have. So over that 340, then my next level, you're looking at that next particular gap, you're looking at 342 area. So I can see 342 fairly soon, and we may end up rejecting that upper gap fill before it probably retests it. Maybe we get some a rejection, some sideways action before you end up getting into that next gap fill over that 349. All right. So that's something I'll be looking at on Facebook here. I definitely want to see us get over the wick. That's pretty much the alert to get in. Over that level of 340, 334.79, that'll be where you really want to end up getting into Facebook. All right. So that one's, I got my eyes on that one. Also, I didn't point out, and I believe it was this one. Was it? Let me just see if it was on the lower time frame. Okay, no, it was not this one. I take that back. All right. Other one I was watching was Shop. Shop, I was a little bit of a sneaky move. I was trying to catch Shop, but it ended up pulling back on me. And before the time I looked back at it, it ended up just taking right off. So that was another one that got away from me. It literally just slipped. By the time that I looked away, it just took off. So I'll be watching this one on a larger time frame going out to the 4 hour. You also have a descending broadening wedge. So you did get the breakout. We pulled back in within the wedge. And so we're right at the resistance. So that's the key thing to notice on Shop on a larger time frame. And so I do want to see us get that push right over the resistance yet again. The only thing that I'm hesitant about on the lower time frame, and that's what I want to highlight on this one in particular, is because you could see this end up doing a head and shoulders action. So you have a little bit of a left shoulder here, you have the head, and this could end up curling back down to form a right shoulder. So this can go either way. So if for any reason we do have weakness in the market tomorrow, or this particular name shows weakness, you'll know exactly why, and you can play it directional based upon how the pattern plays out. Either we're going to get that head and shoulder on the lower time frame on the 15-minute, or we're going to continue to break out, in which that's basically what it's signaling on the 4 hour time frame. All right. So that's one I'll be watching, and then we can play this one up. If we do get the upside, then I'm looking at 1583 as my upside target on shop. So I do like shop. This is definitely one. It's a big payer, but it can also kill you, just like Amazon. The data is definitely there. So definitely, be decisive about your direction on shop before you take an entry on that one. Let's see another one I'm watching. Netflix. Netflix was a beautiful one. It was actually hovering today quite a bit until we ended up getting that push in the market. But this one I do like in particular because I did see a lot of call flow going out to the 700 calls. We have a nice little rounding bottom action on Netflix. And so what I do want to see is I want to see us actually take out that prior high of 690.97. And over that, then we're looking at a target of 700. I did see flow coming in for 700 today. So I can definitely see this getting some nice continuation on that. That'll be a beautiful one. And I'll be looking for Netflix to play that over this high. I'll be looking for that 700 mark, and I'll be in calls for that one. So definitely keep an eye over that ballpark number 691. Then you'll be looking at 700, which they usually say over 90, 100 is a magnet. So that's basically how you're going to be playing this one also. And then coinciding with the flow that's coming in at 700 calls. I do like the setup here in this rounding bottom action. So that's a beautiful one. I know that you probably heard Avery and maybe Sig, if I'm not mistaken, talking about Twilio. This was also another one that was just beautiful. I believe there was someone on Twitter that was actually calling out a setup on this one also. So that's how we ended up catching, what was the price action on Twilio. And it did come up to our attention. So this is a beautiful descending channel action that you have. We got a nice breakout here. I was looking for that breakout over 300 ballpark number. I was looking over 300. We got that push. So I want to see us break over this resistance of the channel. We'll get that push over 316. And then I will definitely play this over that 316 level. I'm looking for a target level of 331. So that'll be a beautiful one that I'll be watching here. This is a very big mover. Once it starts to push, this can heavily push. So I'll be looking at this one in particular tomorrow also for a continuation on the break of the downtrend here. And that's really what's noticeable. There's a larger downtrend on the 4 hour than the move that we just had. So I'll look on that one. The last one that I had that I wanted to pull up, and this one I did play, was a beautiful setup here. I know that PayPal's also been dead, similar to Facebook the past few days, past few weeks for that matter. This is one that was just a beautiful action. If you see, you can see it on the 15-minute. You have that nice little falling wedge action. But if you go into the smaller time frame, and if I zoom in here, I actually caught a beautiful double bottom action off of this one. And I called that one on live. I had it on my stream. You had a beautiful double bottom action at 225. So 225.33 was that double bottom. You double bottomed here, and this was the second bottom. And it literally just took off. It gave you a little bit of a dip off of that. If you stomach that pullback, I literally called it right around 226, mid 226 level. So if you stomach that pullback or you re-entered, that was a beautiful move from 225 up to 230. So that was about a $5 move right there. That was a beautiful double bottom that I caught midday. So if you caught that one when I mentioned it on live, that was just an excellent play right there. So I'll watch for continuation on this one. We'll see what we get. Looking at my fibs, I'm looking towards 231 as the next target. 231, yeah, 231.71, and over that then 233.22. So those are the two numbers I'll be watching in particular off of PayPal, and we'll see if we get a beautiful continuation off of that one also. Well, those are the names that literally just stood out to me that I was going to particularly watch tomorrow. I know there's a few other names out there. We'll see what the market does. Amazon was a beautiful one today. We had the Amazon Rapids. We were a little bit skeptical about that one because I know that SIG was following Amazon quite a bit. And when the Rapids actually came out, it was right near resistance. But if you ended up getting in those Rapids on Amazon, that paid way more than 10%. I think you got over 50% on that move because if I'm not mistaken, it was pushing close enough to 4,000 to 3,400. Yeah, it was close enough to 3,400 before it ended up pulling back. It hit a high of 33.94. So that was a beautiful rapid that came out on Amazon. If you caught that one, amazing play on that. I mean, J Powell literally just came in clutch on any call that you were holding, and it just pushed everything north. So beautiful action on that one, on the algos that triggered on that play. But for the most part, the day pretty much just started out a little bit slow, a little bit choppy. And once Jay Powell came out with that, and we got the news on the Fed rate, that was just a beautiful afternoon for everyone. I'm still a little bit upset Tesla got away from me, but it is what it is. I looked back, I literally was looking at it probably the entire morning, and the one time I looked away, it was when it popped. But it is what it is. It'd be like that sometimes. I'll take a look at just a few tickets here, probably three or four, and then we will call it a night because I know that Tom will be on probably about a 40 minutes or here so. He'll get on live and he'll be looking out for some squeeze plays potentially. So let me see real quick what you guys called out. What did you want me to look at? Pfizer disappointing, well coiled. Pins. I haven't looked at pins in quite a while actually. Let's see what pins looks like. I'll take a look at it. I think we can stretch out to the 2 hour. I think the 2 hour gives a decent time frame here. So on the 2 hour, it looks like I had a little bit of a defined support level. So we hit a nice little support there, another nice support level here. So we are right near a support level that I'm watching. You have a nice little tight collar right near that support level. So you definitely want to see it get over. Now, if I'm looking for a level that I want to see it break over, if I wanted to really test the waters and get into calls here, I do want to see it get. I would personally like to see it get over 46. Over 46, then I would feel comfortable getting into calls and pins. But if it doesn't break here, I mean, it's still fairly weak. That's the problem. I mean, you're playing for a dead cat bounce potentially on pins rather than playing something that does have momentum. I understand you're trying to find the bottom here. Pins has just been very weak. You have not seen any type of momentum out of this at all. But over 46 is when I would really trust to dip my feet in the water and get a call on this. But if it doesn't break over 46, then I'm not necessarily looking for that. And then you do have heavy resistance at 49. So keep that in mind. So if you enter over that 46 mark, you're playing this to 49. If you can't break 49, obviously you're going to end up rejecting possibly more downside or sideways action. And then you have the gap fill action over 51. So those are pretty much the three key levels I'm looking at. For over 46, you're playing it to 49, and then gap fill you're looking at over 51. But very weak action on pins. I think there's a lot more better plays out there. If you're in it, I mean I understand. So you're definitely looking for that support level to hold. If it breaks 44, then I mean I would definitely say just cut the loss and move on because there are other better plays out there. That's definitely what I would say. What's going on, Randy? I was You didn't get into puts yesterday. I think everybody was upset they didn't get into Zillow puts yesterday. That was literally I think Zillow is literally gonna turn out to be like a Fastly 2.0, even though Fastly actually popped about $10 after hours. But that may end up being like a Fastly 2.0 in which the price action you just see it continue to accelerate to the downside. Even though Zillow itself is a good company overall, I mean, we also thought the same thing about Fastly, that they were a good company, but imagine they literally plummeted and lost three-quarters of their value in the market. So I don't really have anything to really say on Zillow. I mean, if I actually look at the price action, I don't think I actually looked at it. Actually, I do have two levels marked up on Zillow. That's actually surprising. So I did take a look at it before, and it looked like it actually broke both of my levels that I was watching. So I had a support level watching at 66. We broke that. That looked like trash. Now let's see where are we going next here. So if I'm looking for my next level of support, I'm looking at 55. So you're potentially looking at another $10 downside here on Zillow if that ends up playing out and the downside accelerates. I did see a lot of flow coming in for puts. Just be aware of that. So when you're trying to catch the knife, I mean, it just depends what kind of knife you're catching. Is it a butcher knife? Is it a butter knife? I mean, that's a painful knife. I just saw with PayPal. That was a steak knife. I mean, that was not a butcher knife. That was not a butter knife. That was a steak knife because that was just it kept falling and falling and falling. So it caused you to keep averaging down. So that's something you want to keep in mind if you're trying to dip your feet into Zillow here. Just be prepared to have backup cash to definitely double down if be the case and possibly triple down. But 55 is the level that I'm watching. That's about another $10 downside on this one. So just be cautious about it. I like to wait for the dust to settle. Kind of like the dust is settling in pins, even though you don't see any upside action on it. You wait for the dust to settle and find a nice little support level on that. Same thing with Baba. If you guys remember, Baba kept dying and dying, even though I'm mentioning a China name, obviously it's a little different. But Baba ended up dying and dying. We got a nice bounce, and it ended up giving it all back for the most part just recently here. So that was not a beautiful action here. You had that beautiful pump, and I'm sure a lot of people tried to buy on the way up, and guess what? Ended up giving back half of that move. So wait for the dust to settle. That's definitely what I say. Wait to find a support level. Wait to find some kind of consolidation at least before you dip your toes in the water when you're trying to catch those knives. All right. I'll look at two more. I mean, CVS is already a played out one. That that move is practically more or less done. It made a $4 move. You have to expect some kind of consolidation, retracement before further upside. I believe me and Tom were both looking for $100 target. It's a little bit more of a slower mover, so definitely be a little bit cautious of that. I definitely think it's gonna go to 100. I think Tom agrees with that also. But granted, it moved over $4 today. You are gonna need to give it some more time. So if you're in weeklies on CVS, that I would caution. Maybe exit, try to roll it out for further expiration, or wait for some kind of retracement to enter at a lower price. That's definitely what I would mention for you on CVS. Let me see what else there was. Riot Mara Gang. I mean, Bitcoin is up, so you should be fine with those. ATVI. That's another knife catch that you're looking at. Wait for the dust to settle. So I don't think there's not. I'm literally gonna look at a, a knife going straight down if I look at ATVI right now. So not really a point for everyone else. Let's see what else you guys are looking at. Let's see. The Tom donated to himself. Yeah, that's really nice. And you know where those $10 of funds are gonna go to? They're probably gonna go to another contract of BGFV, right? I wouldn't doubt it. All right, I'll look at that last one, LMND. Let's see. I haven't looked at this one. I know that it was bleeding out for quite some time, but I do like this. Wow, that's a nice price action. I definitely like that you brought that to my attention. Definitely broke a nice downtrend on this. That's beautiful. See, now that's a chart that I can get behind. So you broke a beautiful downtrend. Now let's see the level that I do want to get over. And I think I identified that pretty quickly right there. So I want to see this get over 81.55 will be that round number that I'm looking to get over that resistance level. I'll put it in orange. That's a beautiful level. So you can play that right up to that 81.55 level. Although it ended up giving it back on that wick. It was just a massive wick and it just ended up giving it back. So you definitely want to be cautious of the gap fill below that it created. So it may potentially end up creating, well, not necessarily creating, but filling this gap here below that it caused. So you can end up going back as low as 68.57. Just be cautious about that. And actually, if it ended up filling that gap at 68.57, I think that would be the level that I go long on that. That would be a beautiful one. If it ended up filling that gap back down, you already have a defined break of the downtrend. You have a nice breakout. You had a little bit of a retest. You got that massive wick to the upside, which you'll likely fill at some point in time after it fills this entire gap. So if we fill that gap, we get down to the 68, ballpark 68.60. That'll be the point to go long. And then you'll look to fill this gap and potentially end up testing that resistance level right around 79.80. That'll be a beautiful one. I think this one looks like it actually did find a bottom, a short-term bottom that is. So once it fills the gap, then you'll know exactly what you're looking at. If it ends up breaking below the gap, then I will be a little concerned. But that actually looks like a good one. I mean, LMD used to be really good when growth stocks were just pumping in the earlier stages of this whole COVID rally. But now that it's died out, eh, I mean, you have to expect it's a little bit more slower price action. I mean, that also reminds me of Chewy. Chewy was another one. That was one that I used to play all the time in the early stages of a COVID pump. but now that you see, it's a little bit more slower of a turnaround. And actually, wow, this is actually a nice chart. You have a little bit of a rounding bottom action here. You had a nice little test. Looks like it's forming a little bit of a handle in which it dropped right into my demand zone that I had already set. That's a beautiful one. So I would like to see this actually get out of that demand zone that I have. If this gets back over 74, I may end up getting back into Chewy. This is one that I really do like. I just like how smoothly it plays out. So I'll watch Chewy. This is just another one that I just threw on the watch list there, but I do like this one over that 74. We can end up getting it right back over to the recent high that it had over 77.17. So that's a beautiful one. I just tossed that one out there. But other than that, I think that wraps up tonight, guys. We'll stay tuned to see Tamakaze with his potential 1000% gainer. I literally don't even want to see what his target is on BGFV. He's saying 100, but he's probably gonna do a fib extension that takes it to like 1050, and I literally wouldn't even be surprised. But again, just be careful with the short squeezes. That's literally what the last statement I will say. Me risk tolerance on those. Don't risk what you're not willing to lose. That's all I'm gonna say. They're definitely fun, and I'm sure that BGFV is literally gonna go to 40 tomorrow. I think I will. I'm saying that, and I'm not even in it. That CVS play, he killed the CVS play. I'm not even gonna lie, hands down. I completely ignored him on CVS, and the only reason I ignored him on CVS was because of his past history with Merck, and I completely ignored him on that one. So that was on me. I did miss that 1000% gainer, but that was a beautiful setup on his part. If you miss CVS with him, wow, that was a banger. I can't even doubt him on that one. Beautiful move. His small account has literally grown insanely. I think he like quadrupled it. No, that's not even quadrupling. He took like from 2,000 to like 30 something thousand. That is just dumb crazy. Merc is dead to you. I think Merc is dead to everyone. Actually, no, I take that back. Tamakaze actually he entered Merc I think yesterday or so. I mean, he made a few $100 on it. I can't doubt that. It's not dead now. I will say that the stock does look better now. 2K to 36K. That's insane. That's literally like some Wall Street bets type numbers. I'm just gonna say that. But actually, if I look at Merck, how does Merck actually look right now? I probably have to go out to the daily because it did get a nice push. Do we even have any resistance? I think we're at all time highs right now. Yeah, we're at all time highs. Wow. And I actually had a resistance drawn up. I don't even know how long that's been there. But yeah, you're pushing all time highs. That's amazing. Once you get over that 90 again, over 90, 100 is a magnet. So that's really a beautiful one there. If you get that push right back over 90 on Merck, and I'm not even going to be tempted to enter that though. I have bad history with Merck, and so does Tom. But they usually say over 90, 100 is a magnet. So that's just something I'll throw out there. But being that it's having a momentum now, that's really the biggest difference for Merck. It does have momentum. It has good news surrounding the company. So it had that momentum part is really what you're playing into with Merck. Why don't I look at BA? Why don't you go to sleep? I'm not looking at BA. You must be crazy. I mean, for that, I might as well go look at Red. That is true, actually. It actually goes right with Merck. You always get Mercked with that. But wait, you got out like $300 or $400 out of Merck the last time you played it. So I mean, you can't really be that salty. Although you probably lost a lot more than that. It is what it is. But let's see what Tom comes up with tonight. I'll tune in to see, what short squeeze plays are gonna be out there. We'll see what he comes up with. But all I know is that BGFV is gonna go to 40 tomorrow. That much I can say. If Tom says anything above 45, I think he's a little bit crazy, and he probably is gonna be drinking whiskey during that YouTube live. So I'll see you guys in the morning though. I'll definitely be in chat with Tom on his video. So stay tuned for that. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the morning on live. You guys take care and have a good night then. All right, guys.